All right, it's that time again. Got to see what my good old friend, one of my favorite politicians to listen to, John Kennedy. We got to see what he got to say.
Judiciary Committee met with President Trump on Sunday. Senator Kennedy, welcome. It's always good to have you with us. You know, this whole question of one big, beautiful bill, as you just heard Speaker Johnson talking about. The other day, I sat down with the majority leader, Senator Thune, in his office and asked him about, you know, what this is going to look like since you have all three branches right now. And here's some of what he said.
There's been other times when one party had the House and the Senate and the White House. And often people look back and say, gee, why didn't they get all that done when they had all three?
I think the Speaker, us here in the Senate, the President and his team, we are on the same page. And it's just a function now of how to figure out how to make everything work in a way that enables us to get to the finish line.
Senator, welcome again. You know, what does it look like to you, and will it be different this time? Will there be a lot of Republican progress given the leverage that you have right now?
Well, point one, Martha, one bill or two, frankly, you can teach it round or you can teach it flat.
What?
I don't really give a function whether it's one bill or two. I care about the final product. My advice to my colleagues and to the president is, number one, don't get distracted. Very shortly, the honeymoon will be over. My Democratic colleagues and many members of the media will start calling us, particularly the president, crazy. They said the same thing about Noah. And then the rains came. And all the fact checkers drowned.
Oh my God, that doggone Kennedy boy. He never fails to deliver, does he? He says he go Noah and all the fact checkers drown. You got to go to the Bible, boy. Gang 101. When people talking a bunch of BS, they go to the Bible stories.
We need to keep our focus on why we're here. Here's why we're here. President Trump won, aside from the fact that I think he's high energy and authentic, and he doesn't talk down to people on four issues: inflation, border security, national security, and the fact that Vice President Harris and President Biden staffed their administration with a bunch of people who majored in online activism with a minor in puberty blockers. All they wanted to do was sit around all day and talk about climate change and whether a man can breastfeed. We've got to address those four issues.
That damn Kennedy. Whether a man can hold on, man. We gotta ride it back a little bit. Hold on, Dad.
All they wanted to do was sit around all day and talk about climate change and whether a man can breastfeed. We've got to address those four issues in a bill. It's called reconciliation. We'll get no help from the Democrats, so we'll have to do it through a mechanism called reconciliation, which only requires a majority vote. That requires us to stick together. Let me say it again. I don't care whether we do one bill or two. What I do care about is that everybody remember, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. The American people have given us a year at best. We've got to produce. We can produce, but everybody's going to have to give them a little bit.
So what is that? You know, what are your priorities? You talked about national security. You talked about the economy, inflation. You know, what is give people a sense of what's realistic and how quickly they will see this happen, because we've seen a lot of these executive orders, but as was said in the lead package here, the president needs Congress to get this passed. What are your priorities for this bill, Senator?
Well, I'll tell you what my priorities are. What I would do if I were a king for a day. I'm not, and I don't aspire to be. Number one, inflation. The only way we're going to defeat inflation
How is
high
it?
prices is to grow the economy, to increase people's wages. We've got to start with renewing the 2017 tax cuts. If we don't, taxes are going to go up in the amount of $4.3 trillion. 60% of that tax increase will hit middle America. It will crush our economy. Number two, border security. Number three, I want to.
That's interesting. What he's saying, but he say, wait to defeat inflation, you increase wages, and he say if they don't, taxes will go up. He say increase wages and and go back to the tax cuts. When he says go back to the tax cuts, are he talking about he talking about the tax cuts for? Are you talking about tax cuts for only the wealthy people, rich people, or when he say tax cuts, does he mean across the board? Also the lower. Because there really isn't they're eliminating the middle class, but I guess we can say the lower middle class. Will the everyday working people, will we get tax cuts? That's what I want to know when Kennedy says tax cuts. Or are he just talking about tax cuts for the rich? I disagree a little bit on that. I don't know. Increasing wages might be a way to go, but I know inflation 101 is you have to slow down spending. You have to slow down spending. That's why the Fed usually increase interest rates to slow down the spending. That's how you combat inflation. That's one way I know for sure. But if you increase people's wages, the problem is the consumer is trained to spend. So if you increase people's wages, the consumer will not stop. I don't think the consumer will will stop spending as much. You want to slow down spending, increase savings. You want people to put more in the savings. That's how you fight inflation. My opinion. I digress.
Spend more money on defense. Number four, I want to see an eruption of common sense where we pass some laws, part of reconciliation, where if you are a biological male, no matter how you identify, you can't play a women's sport.
I think they already passed that, didn't I think I just saw something where they already passed that. If you're a biological male, you can't play a women's sport. I think they already took care of that, Kennedy.
Cell deep stupid. You can be whatever you want, part of reconciliation, where if you are a biological male, no matter how you identify, you can't play a women's sport. It's cell deep stupid. You can be whatever you want to be in America, but if you're a biological male, you can't compete with a woman fairly.
All right, Senator, thank you for laying out your priorities. Discussions are going on right now. We expect to hear from the president very shortly, and I thank you for joining us today.
That doggone Kennedy, he does it again, huh? He a straight shooter. That doggone Kennedy is a straight shooter, ain't he? That's why I like Kennedy. You say what you want. I might not agree with everything he says or whatever, but he's sure as hell is a straight shooter.